All right, that music ends abruptly. I need to change that ending. I'm glad you're here, Michelle. Otherwise,
Good
it'd
to
just
see
be
you.
me. All the guests and everybody's are late. That's okay.
It's my
Everybody's
first time here.
it is everybody still hungover from selling teams
Ignite?
rooms
Oh,
and
yeah,
Ignite. Everybody's hungover from selling teams rooms and Ignite.
I think so. I know Jimmy and Marin were doing overtime because of all the announcements. It's tough to squeeze that stuff into like 10 minutes.
Yeah, which is why they did it in 12. But that's still impressive,
How you
including
been?
stuff that wasn't necessarily Ignite based. Like they announced, or not announced, they shared that there's a like a Lenovo thing happening in Canada, some events. So they covered all that.
I just came back from Dubai for Jitex,
Oh, you got to go to
which
Jitex.
which is the Infocom or ISC of Dubai.
Yeah.
It was impressive, very impressive. A couple
Yeah.
of big experience centers built on for Teams Rooms devices. It was impressive to see what the folks out there are doing.
Yeah. So let's talk Jitex for a second.
Let's do it. Hey, oh,
What
I see Tom's here as well. A
Tom's
couple of
here as
folks in
well.
the comments already. Patrick, good to see you in the chat, by the way. Hey,
Hey
Tom.
guys, morning, afternoon.
Hi, you look like you're in a hotel.
I am. Joe, I mean, I don't know if I can spin this round. I'm at a conference, cricket grounds. So we're literally right on the all around the cricket grounds. Pretty amazing, South Coast Summit.
Is that Lord's?
No, it's Southampton.
Oh, then I don't care.
I don't know anything about cricket except I know that is the ground. That's about the extent of my cricket knowledge.
No, I just I'm a big fan of Douglas Adams and his book. So he had a whole thing where the robots landed at Lord's cricket ground and started shooting everyone. So so to me, Lord's is important. But
It's
again,
not about the cricket. It's just about that book.
yes, just about that book. It has nothing to do about the cricket. So real quick, Michelle, let's talk Jitex for like a minute, and then we'll kick to Ignite talk.
Yes, like I said, Ignite is the Ignite. The Jitex is the ISC or Infocom or UC Expo of Dubai, and as you know, everything in Dubai is bigger than anything else. And I was impressed by what our partners are building there. It's not, of course, all the OEMs were there and they had amazing booths, but what I really noticed was the investments that our partners are making, and then the appetite that they have for Teams rooms. It was an impressive show, and we did a big boot camp there. We had 125 people in. I think we didn't start inviting them until I think 4 days before. So we had a big boot camp. Ilya came on. Ilya Buxton, our VP for Teams calling and devices, and we did a Q&A with him. And he gave a few nuggets before Ignite. I think the folks were happy with that.
You can
So
always
it
rely
was
on Ilya to drop a few interesting bits when he's live. It's always worth listening to him if you get the chance because he always drops some extra NDA stuff in somewhere.
we we agreed that we weren't going to talk about Ignite announcements, and of course, the first question that was asked from the audience was, "Hey, any idea about what's coming?" And then Ilya said, "Well, then we have Ignite tomorrow," and then he just started sharing some stuff. Of course, if you're not in it, right, it probably doesn't make sense. But for folks like that, like us, it's easy to connect the dots once he starts speaking.
All right. So thank you, Michelle, for a little Jitex roundup. First off, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Michael Trustler. I do Teams devices, and I'm working on becoming better at Teams phone. Michelle, who the hell are you?
So I'm the EMEA partner technical lead for Teams Rooms. So my team works on readiness, boot camps, all that kind of stuff for us across the EMEA region. And then on this channel, if you're watching on YouTube at least, we do 4 different shows. So Jimmy's here. Jimmy 2 times. So Jimmy does selling Teams Rooms on the channel. Jimmy and I, we do tech talk, and then we'll have Andrew Higgsy. We'll do 5 minute Fridays with Higgsy, and then of course we have Teams Friday here. But I look after readiness and part of technical strategy in the EMEA region at Microsoft.
How are the polo shirts? Are you out? Are they all gone?
You want one?
Yeah. Of course I want one. Who doesn't want a
Michelle
polo
did,
shirt?
Michelle did an exclusive on the Teams Fireside Chat and just gave a load away. It was
just started handing them out where I got a whole bunch of requests for shirts, and I'm like, but Jimmy doesn't have shirts.
Yeah, Jersey Jimmy. Why doesn't Jersey Jimmy's got to have shirts? Where's the shirts? Jersey Jimmy. Come on. You got
Jimmy
a
doesn't
shirt.
have shirts.
You must
I have
know a
something else
guy,
as well, but
right?
I
You
can't
know a
find
guy.
All right, I'll go around. Tom. I did. Tom, who are you?
Who am I? Good question. So I wear a few different hats. I've been in our space for a long, long time. You know, the OTS link Skype trajectory. I currently work for a telco called Pure IP for a couple of days a week, doing kind of solutions director strategy type stuff there. And I also have my own company, empowering.cloud, so it's empowering cloud. And the idea of that is twofold. It's partner training, but it's also video briefings from experts in the field that are free to access, so it's sponsor backed. And just building it up, we've only been going a few months. We've got over 1,000 people on, and experts such as Michael Tresler are available on there, and Jimmy and Michelle are on the hook. So it's just a matter of time. But the real idea is 15-minute video briefings from experts, just to get the knowledge out there, really.
So yeah, I made a face, but for unempowering.cloud, off not on my YouTube channel. It's some Teams Phone stuff. I said earlier, I'm learning Teams Phone. If you've never set up or seen how Operator Connect is set up and how to assign a phone number, I put that over on empowering.cloud. And Tom, I spent yesterday on the direct routing or routing, and come to find out, Pure IP has an actual product called direct routing, and I thought I was just getting a SIP trunk, so I was just completely confused trying to get this set up. I'm like, why am I doing all this stuff in Teams?
So you were trying to say, they're giving you direct routing as a service when you wanted a SIP trunk into your AnyNode.
Correct. Yeah. So I'm like, why am I doing all this stuff in Teams? This makes no sense. No sense that Teams needs to know about the Pure IP trunk. And then I'm like, oh wait, this is a different offer than I thought I was setting up. So slight delay, and I will do a video on that. Anyway, and then Jimmy, really quick, who are you?
Jimmy Vaughn, partner technical specialist for Microsoft Teams Rooms here in the U.S. at Microsoft. Prior MVP, Tom, I had to give it up to come here to Microsoft. You know, it was a crowning achievement. I still have my my MVP trophy.
You were in the club. I
was in the club. I was allowed in for a little while. Very, very proud. And for those of you that might not know who Microsoft MVPs are those who represent Microsoft but don't work at Microsoft. And it's sort of a reward that is given to those that are out there on the benefit of Microsoft. And I myself, Tom, you know this because we've spoken about this. I learned from MVPs. I did not go through a traditional learning process to learn all the things that I know. And I always wanted to give back. And one of my goals in life was to become an MVP from from the years and years that I learned about products like Exchange and Link and Skype and all the different things. And I'm so happy that I was able to achieve that. Now I'm here at Microsoft, and I get to sort of give the praise that MVPs deserve for that club, because Lori and the team that does that whole community, tremendous. And
we have a great bunch of people, and we're well looked after by Microsoft, so we get to see things early and form opinions. But as you say, it's kind of the independent, non-Microsoft badge view of the world as well.
Yeah, and I love the community. I cannot tell you, Tom, how much internal in Microsoft I say, where are the MVPs? When are we engaging the MVPs? When can they know about?
Appreciate that. Flying the flag. Thank you.
Plus, if we want to know about new stuff, we go to the MVP community.
I go to the MVP brief.
Half the time, the MVPs have it first.
Correct. So
Tom, let's swing it over to Ignite Talk. We just got done with Ignite yesterday. Any impressions or any like super hot news that just top of mind that you're like, holy cow, I can't believe this is happening, or this is amazing, or just it was nothing impressive?
Yeah, no, definitely some impressive stuff. I mean, it was like some interesting news dropped. I guess the top interesting one for me was the Cisco MTR story. I did not see that coming. So I used to work for a Cisco partner. I was one of the original 10 partners to deploy Call Manager when it was still Call Manager, before its Communications Manager in the UK. So prior to being big on the Microsoft, I was actually in the Cisco IPT space. And I've seen Microsoft and Cisco play nice and then not play so nice. And then recently, with things like Direct Guest Join, there's been a bit more cooperation between Cisco and Microsoft and Zoom. But I did not see it coming that Cisco would allow Android and the MTR app to run on their hardware. I mean, their hardware has always been very well respected. It's really quality kit. So there's a lot of customers that love that kit. I think our ecosystem has caught up, and you've got people like Neat and putting out some really high-end stuff as well. But there are plenty of customers with Cisco kit. So the fact there's been enough pressure on Cisco, and Cisco are looking after their customers, so respect to them, to say, actually, you can run native Microsoft Teams rooms on our hardware. That was really exciting and surprising for me.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that we have another partner, Tom, because, and I said it during selling Teams rooms, which was right before this. I think everybody's still got to remember, even with Cisco in the world, 1 in 10 meeting rooms are video enabled. So that doesn't change the opportunity that's ahead of all of us to sort of help these customers that are going back into the world. I think the Cisco announcement is something that's great for all of us, because one of the challenges with meeting rooms is rip and replace. And when I was designing things back at a previous job, it was one of the costs that was concerning me as a product manager. How do we make this so that rip and replace doesn't need to happen? Because that many times is the largest cost and largest encumberment to adopting new technology. And like you said, kudos to Cisco to hear their customers and recognize that the juggernaut that is Teams is sort of out there, and really people want it inside of their meeting rooms as well.
Yeah, I think we should say that. It's easy to kind of say, this is Cisco folding to Teams, but I think it's Cisco respecting their customer choices. And there's a lot of, we know, especially high-end FinServe, Pro Service, like professional services, legal. There's lots of Cisco kit out there, and their team shops on the desktop, and they were dealing with interop, and being able to go native if they want to is really exciting.
Yeah, and direct guest join and all of those technologies, while they're great, they really don't lead that native experience, which sort of gives people that that comfort level. When I think
it's worth talking about the give get there as well. You guys probably know a little bit better than me, but it seems like there's going to be an improved WebEx join scenario for those as well. So they're going to be running a bit more of a native WebEx experience, so that if you're a Cisco shop, you can have native Teams but still good WebEx join. Is that correct?
Yeah, the way I heard it, and I don't know, this maybe Jimmy or Michelle know a little more, is that so Ilya's always been like, we're going to use
smiling, so he knows something.
I just try to get not in trouble. That's all.
Yeah, we're gonna use web-based join, right? We're gonna use web-based join, and that's how you join WebEx and Zoom meetings. But on the Cisco devices themselves, there will be a native Cisco app. So when you join a WebEx meeting, it'll be a native WebEx meeting and not a web browser based. So you get the full features of the WebEx Android meeting join client, which is interesting because Ilya was always, don't install a third-party app on Teams Rooms, or a third-party meeting the app on Teams Rooms, and here we are installing a third-party meeting app on Teams Rooms.
Well, this is very much blessed, I guess, isn't it? To be fair.
Well, it is blessed. It is blessed. But the key is, it's a Microsoft Teams room first. So when you walk into the room, you are presented with that Teams room interface. When you join the WebEx meeting, it actually has something in the background. And this goes towards, Tom, Michael, and Michelle, the whole idea of Android and security. I mean, we published the article this week about Android security and how it actually runs. And we're not running a Play Store. That's where a lot of people sort of look at Android and they say, well, I should be able to install another app on it. It doesn't always work really, really well. But this is Cisco and Microsoft coming together and blessing the experience of the two different apps that run on the native platform. But again, you're always going to be presented with that Microsoft Teams room interface first. And when you choose WebEx, it will be able to actually utilize that other application that runs on it.
Yeah, and then as soon as the call ends, it defaults back
right back to the Teams.
Right? So if you are a WebEx customer, you don't have to rely on the direct guest join. You use the native app. But then again, once you finish that WebEx call, it goes back into Teams Rooms mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really important point. Carsten just asked in the chat, I saw it flash up there, another person who's done a briefing for Empowering Cloud, thank you. He said, can you run both at the same time? And it's not both at the same time. It is a Microsoft Teams room, as Jimmy and Michelle said, that also joins WebEx well. So it's not switching between profiles. It's not, it's not both running parallel. It's a Teams room that just does better with WebEx, I think is a summary.
Which essentially, the way I get it is right now, if you join a WebEx meeting, it just opens the Edge browser and connects. Now on Cisco devices, it'll, instead of opening the Edge browser, it opens the WebEx app.
Yeah.
And then connects to it. And then when you're done, you get close meeting, you go back to the Teams Rooms interface.
Yes.
Have any of you guys seen demos? I went and literally I was at UC Expo when the news dropped, and I ran over to the Cisco people and I was like, "Hi, can you show me this?" They're like, "What are you talking about?" So it was news to the guys on the stand as well. But have you guys seen anything of it?
I have. It's been around. I mean, this isn't something that happened overnight, obviously. So
of course,
it's been around.
Cool.
I love.
Nice to know it's real, not just marketing.
I love that we surprised a lot of people, and we were able to keep that a little bit. But it's been around for a little while. I don't want to say that, hey, I'm in the know and all of that. I didn't know that it was going to come this quickly, but it came about rather quickly, and I think it's not just marketing. I mean, when they say 2023, they really are there. But like I said, this is another partner in the ecosystem. I think when you think of Cisco and WebEx and their devices, there's a premium to them. And if you're going to run, Tom, I say this to some people privately as well. We've gotten some kickback about a $40 license. Now you're going to talk about a WebEx kit. So there are things that you're going to look at and you're going to say, all right, I'm paying a premium for this. And I think one of the messages that I take away from Ignite is, and Inspire and this year, is do more with less. And I don't know that this fits that category, but I do think.
I think it does because you've got plenty of people with existing Cisco hardware out there that were stuck between a rock and a hard place. They might have spent literally millions.
That's true.
That's not an understatement in kit. And I know this in some of my customers, and they've been saying for years, Cisco and Microsoft, like Cisco, you're always going to own the network and you own our Wi-Fi, and we love you for this bit, and we love Microsoft for the desktop and the software bit. Just play nicely together. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to see that happening. I think we have to give respect to Cisco for playing nicely. I'm hoping we see, they have phones that can run Android, so who knows what we'll see there. But it's nice to see big players doing what the customers want, not just sticking to their guns for the sake of their own individual teams' benefits.
Yeah.
Joel is asking, does it have to be Android based? It's only Android based, so there's no Windows version of this.
Let's look at it too. What does Cisco run on? Cisco runs on Linux, which is which runs the kernel of Android. I mean, that makes sense. Why would Cisco all of a sudden develop something on Windows that does it? It's not their business sake.
Exactly. Plus, if you have a Cisco device that is it 3 years old, 2 years old? It has to run the NVIDIA chip, I think.
Yeah.
You'll get firmware, so you can make that switch to Teams rooms based on the announcement. But it'll only work with newer devices that have the NVIDIA chip.
Yes. Yeah. There's a list on the blog, I think, that tells you which specific hardware. Yes, it's a good call out. It's definitely not everything.
And we could probably talk the entire hour on Cisco, but did you see like the 360-degree camera and Microsoft Places, right?
What stood out for you guys? That 360 camera is an interesting one. I haven't dug into that totally yet. I've seen the demo. It looks, it's Roundtable reborn, isn't it? Really, it's a different thing, but same.
I think it's lessons learned from Roundtable, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
Because I mean, I myself did deploy Roundtable at a significant amount of customers with link room systems and things like that. And one of the things that was challenging was when I'm looking at the front of room screen, this is how I'm talking to you. And it doesn't give that.
The thing you have to remember is Roundtable was a different time, right? So Roundtable was, we were all in the meeting room and one person was remote. So it was about servicing that one. And the remote person was the odd one out. And today is a completely different thing where it's 50-40 or 70-30 in either direction. So you're entirely right. It's not, hardware-wise, it looks similar. It's a 360 camera in the middle, but the way it's being used is very different, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and technology obviously moves, but I think the right way to think about it is the lessons learned from Roundtable and bring it forward, but making that meeting equity. It really gives us a great ability, and to that point, hardware doesn't come overnight. Again, this was something that was thought about for a long, long time, and sort of seen.
And you can't lose the cap on this one because it has that super smooth motor,
It was really nice, that video, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm about to find it.
I love the engineering that goes into that kind of thing because it just makes you feel like it's quality.
It's
I got it. I got it, Michael. Hold on. I got the Microsoft video.
Yeah, I was.
Here we go. So this is it.
And this zooms in.
There you go. You can pop the top. It's like a submarine, the little periscope coming out.
But I think you see, I'll talk over it for a little while. I think you see that panoramic view at the bottom of the screen. That was actually put out at Inspire, wasn't it? Was that when we first saw it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've definitely seen it before.
And I think it was funny because I think I said, "There's an Easter egg out there, guys." And this was sort of it. But
I think it's also a nice opportunity to speak about IntelliFrame.
Yeah.
Right, so we made the announcement of IntelliFrame, which was previously called, what was it? AI video, advanced video, intelligent video, intelligent camera.
Yeah.
So it's now IntelliFrame. And so for devices like the Yealink you just saw, but also the Panacast P50, Poly E70, all these advanced cameras, they'll get multi-stream. But if you have an MTR that doesn't have these advanced cameras, we can still create that image in the cloud, which I think is nice. That's a nice addition to devices that are not as advanced.
Michelle, take us through multi-streams. I don't think everybody gets the difference between kind of composite endpoint and the IntelliFrame and the multi-stream. That's quite an important difference, isn't it?
So in IntelliFrame, thanks. So this could be all separate images, which is multi-stream, or everything squeezed into one video stream. That's the big difference.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And I did a blog post on it because it is hard to explain in talking about it. But all right, you see us right now in 4 different frames. Imagine if we were in a conference room and those 4 frames were fit into one of our images right now, one of our boxes. That's what's happening with camera equipment right now, is that they're only getting that one frame. But the idea of multi-frame is that we can take that camera image and now look at it as like a canvas and say, all right, well, let's split up the people and give them each a box inside of the remote view. And then that comes with challenges. And that's what, Michelle, we actually had Arash on Teams Room Tech Talk, which is our monthly segment that we do. And Arash spoke about the challenges about, all right, well, we don't want to show these images inside of the conference room itself. So we've got to have intelligence and technology to know this is being delivered from in the room, and it will only go to remote participants.
Yeah. Also, the big thing here is when you're sending those individual streams to the MCU, to the Teams service, then Teams can decide what it does with them. So, for example, I was talking to the Cyviz guys at UC Expo. They're the guys that are doing the Microsoft MTCs with the massive screens and the really cool stuff. But once you've got individual feeds, you can start doing different layouts for different endpoints, different layouts, different scenarios. You haven't got that one video you can stretch or shrink. You can do a lot more clever stuff. I'm really excited about this technology.
Yeah.
Yep. I think one that a lot of people missed is a new license. So there is a new license. Yeah, there is a new license.
That is one I've known for a while, that Common Area Phone was going to be recast as the devices license for phones and hot desking and panels. So it was good to see that finally come out, so I could finally talk a little about that.
I said it on Selling Teams, bargain basement price for.
Did we announce the price, Jimmy?
I can't imagine it's going to be the same as Common Area Phone, right?
I think it said in one of the blogs it's effectively a repurposing of the Common Area device.
Yeah, that's $8, right? $8 US.
Yeah, I think it just takes that and is a new name.
So for a little history, the reason. So a lot of this. So why? Okay. Why didn't this happen right out of the gate? Microsoft is trying to prevent people from using common area phone licenses on Teams rooms, right? Why would I pay $25 or $40 when I can pay $8? So that's why there was never a calendar on common area phone. Because without the calendar, you can't schedule the room. If you can't schedule the room, your Teams rooms, you can use it in ad hoc only mode, but nobody likes that in only that mode. So now that the Teams Rooms app is license aware or becoming license aware, it's like AI. It's like waking up and seeing things. Now that it's license aware, the app can then say, "Oh, I'm a Teams Rooms. This is the shared device license. I'm not gonna log in." That logic wasn't there before. So now we can add calendaring to the artist formerly known as common area phone, and then the app or the device will go, "Hey, is this a valid license for me?" If it is, like you're using it for hot desking, I'm on an Android phone. We're using it for hot desking. Let's go. You can sign in. Oh, you're trying to use me on a Teams Rooms Android. Hard pass. Sign in blocked. So that's some of the backstory of why common area phone was always had some curious little limitations to it. Those limitations are being removed because the intelligence is being moved away from the license into the apps.
I have to drop, by the way, guys. I have to take my daughter to swimming class. So thanks for having me on Teams Fridays.
I didn't know you guys were that warm that you're still swimming over there. Here, it's very chilly right now.
What do you mean? It's like 80 degrees. It's like 25 Celsius over here.
Plus the Netherlands is basically underwater. So if anything floods, my kids need to know how to swim.
They got to be ready.
They got to be ready.
All right, Michelle, have fun.
Cool.
I see you, mate. Talk soon.
So let's move on to either some other announcements from our partner products. We saw the G7500 get certified, and
that's been a long time coming. A lot of pent up demand for that, for sure.
Yeah, that's been a long time coming, and they updated their version of Android on their system, so extends the life of the certification on those sites.
They're going 9 to 10 on the X30, X50s. Is that right?
Yeah. Brandon actually posted it from Poly. Actually posted it on LinkedIn, and that's where I saw it the other day. So kudos to them because that was a long time.
I think that's going to be a huge deal to see how the OEMs deal with those Android upgrades because customers are only just starting to get their head around that being an important factor in the buying decision because they don't really understand the life cycle fully. So it's great to see Poly and others doing that because it kind of proves that they will commit to keeping these devices, in support for the maximum amount of time they can.
Correct. That Android update is no small feat for companies, and those that don't develop on Android or Linux or things like that don't really understand. It is chip based, and you've got to understand how your chip manufacturers are going to go through it and things like that. So it is very, very involved. But to your point, Tom, customers should be looking at that and saying, how are we, how long are we certified for? When are we doing the update? And make that a part of their buying decisions. I think that's part of what we posted on the Android security side. But to that point as well, Neat got their entire portfolio. I'm excited about the Bar Pro that actually allows protocols like Dante. And people that aren't in AV may not know what Dante is, but Dante with the Bar Pro is a nice feature that our friends at Neat actually have worked into their system. So
yeah, the frame got certified as well. Unfortunately, I have one of those at home, and I think that's a really interesting device. So
I don't have one. I wish they would send me one, but I don't have one.
There's a hint. A very obvious hint.
No, it's not a hint. It's just it's one of those things. A lot of people talk about it, but I've had the Teams display from Lenovo, which I liked. I really enjoyed it, but it's sort of
the vertical thing makes it a very different device. And the use case I think it's for is kind of a home exec. I jump on lots of calls. I'm not the one driving the PowerPoint or flicking through Excel. I'm the decision maker / input. But I know from hands-on experience, lots of execs are not fantastic at laptops and webcams and lighting and stuff. So the fact you can plonk this down, you can't really go wrong. You can't really break it because it's a purpose-built device. bang, join, framing. The noise suppression is amazing. I don't know if you've seen the videos on LinkedIn, like with the hair dryers and the blenders and stuff. Like the noise, the hardware noise suppression on top of the AI that Teams does is really slick. But it's not a device for everybody. And I see a lot of people saying, $2,000, $2,500, that's high end. It is high end, but for those of us that remember Tandberg's personal endpoints, like it's a bargain.
Yeah, and for executives that really, like you said, want to take that burden off of using their PC. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in with the executives where they've accidentally shared their screen and you see their Outlook, you see their calendar. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it, but it happens. It happens. Being able, like you said, you're not going to drive anything. You're just going to meet with people.
It's really the always on thing as well. With us all having laptops at home, you don't have your laptop ready for the 7 a.m. or the 11 p.m. meeting. The fact you can just rock up, bang, and you're in. Again, like that sounds like a little thing, but day-to-day usability and experience point of view, it's really, really nice.
Yeah.
So
and
when I told
Michael, I've been having PC issues this week, so.
When I had the Lenovo ThinkSmart View, my key use, because it was small, my key use for that thing was oh crap, I'm late for a meeting. Let me join on ThinkSmart View, then figure out how to sign in. Or it's like in the morning and like Windows updates happen, which is great, right? I always want to stay updated, but it's like, oh, now we're preparing your computer for first use. I'm like, first off, it's not the first use. Second off, I overslept and I'm missing a meeting. So boom, ThinkSmart View. Let's go.
I like the Windows checks every time. Do you want Bing again? Because that single-use device and the price point for the quality of the hardware. I mean, they've won awards and stuff for the hardware as well. And it's hard to say without getting hands-on, but it's an impressive bit of kit.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the portrait mode, I saw it at was it ISE maybe. It is kind of interesting where you do see, like, when you just have a one-to-one call, you see someone like kind of like in a frame. It does definitely change the view in certain calls. If you have a one-to-one,
it's those super engaged video first scenarios. Like honestly, if you're all collaborating around an Excel sheet and you're actively involved, this is not the endpoint for that. It can do it, but like that's not the one you choose. You want the classic massive monitor, but like it's the video first scenario. I say particularly execs, they're not driving. I mean, you guys see this. I'm sure every exec at Microsoft drives their own PowerPoint and Excel, but like when I join other calls, execs don't tend to do that. There tends to be someone driving and their video and input. I think that scenario is perfect.
And Joel has a great use case there for the smaller rooms, the 1 or 2, 3 person rooms, the shared rooms. They work really, really well. Again, you may not use it to drive a PowerPoint, but if you're just using that to do it, and then you join in companion mode on your PC.
I think Hotdesk launched for Crestron, who also have a Teams display. They did the launch for Hotdesking, and it's coming for Yealink and Neat as well. So that exact scenario where you can stick it in a common area in Hotdesk mode and flip it in, and it'll sign itself out, and no data is left behind. That's an interesting use case.
I want to like walk my stuff back because I don't have Neat, but I don't have Crestron either. So.
Jimmy, you'd think at least you know somebody at Crestron, surely.
That's the thing. I don't, Tom. I'm not out here saying I want Kit, I want anything like that. It's just, geez, I'm in a small place. You guys probably know I posted about a year ago. I'm building a house, but right now, this is what I got. I think, you can. My background is less than 18 inches away from me. So.
Yeah, it is tough with kit as well. I'm super fortunate to have a good relationship with the OEM, so you do get to play with this stuff.
It's great.
But
I love it when they do it.
You have to play with it. Like it's difficult. Fortunately, with the new company, we just got an office. I've got a space for room systems that's a legit room. But before, it was just in my garage, and it's like, well, it works, but I'm not really doing a 4-person meeting with it, because it's not really a test case.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Neil Flister told me I was first on the list for this Crestron device in.
And that's not. I'm trying to walk back I'm not asking. I appreciate, but to your point, Tom, the partners, they are very, very generous with their devices, and I appreciate every single one that I get. And I honestly swap things around, believe it or not. I got the Jabra a couple months ago when they sent me the personal one, and I actually swapped that out. I was using a Logitech Brio, and I was using a Poly webcam. I try to swap them out because
I do the same, yeah, because you want to get a feel for what different options there are.
What everyone has, we were talking about it the other day because we were talking about the boot camps that we're giving, and I'm going to give a boot camp. And one of the things that I do is I talk, and I don't read a slide, and I don't do those things. But you can't talk effectively without having played with the kit or set up a tenant or set up something. The challenges that our partners go through, that our customers go through, I know it all too well because I'm trying to do everything myself. Tom, you do it too. How do you, one of the reasons why we write blogs as MVPs, believe it or not, I let the secret out, is because I will always want a reference point to go back to. Oh, I ran into this.
and I got huge respect for particularly you guys in Microsoft sharing the pain, because there was a period we went through where it wasn't super blessed to be things are less than perfect. But I feel like we've turned a real corner in the last few years with Microsoft being things are ever evolving, things are changing, some things don't work some of the times. This is the reality. It just makes it much easier for everybody because that is the reality of fast moving tech. There's always rough edges, and we're all working on it together.
It's great to have leadership like Ilya, who's out there, who's acknowledging we can make this better. I mean, if you follow him on Twitter or even on LinkedIn, you'll see that he goes out and he engages with the community. And I know that I engage with Ilya. I love that I have a relationship with Ilya and the team, the product team, that I can go and I can say, guys, we should probably look at something, making this a little bit better.
Yeah, you don't see many VPs being that straight talking on LinkedIn and Twitter and webcasts and stuff. I love it.
Yeah, and it's something. And to your point, I think that Microsoft has been very, very accommodating to the pain points of a lot of these things. You can't race forward without having a couple of things sort of hiccup, but the true test of companies is how they react to that and how they come back and they resolve that. So,
what about you, Michael? What did you pick out from Ignite? Have you been through it all? Anything else stand out for you?
He's muted, and I don't know if he knows that yet, but he is muted.
There we go. I'm muted.
There you
go. So, Tom, we did more, or Microsoft did more with the Operator Connect Mobile.
Yes.
It seemed like it was an announcement. Does it mean it's live now? Because this was announced like a year ago, or at least at Enterprise Connect, it got announced. So.
Enterprise Connect got announced, so it announced, and Cisco announced their one with AT&T, so they got announced around the same time. It's been a while, but yeah, it's GA now. So it's Rogers, BT, and I'm blanking on the third. Is it Verizon? I think.
It was Verizon, I think. Yeah,
Verizon, and there's more coming as well. And it's been renamed, so it was Operator Connect Mobile in the preview, and now it's Teams Phone Mobile.
Do users or administrators understand this leap that this is?
Oh, right? No, it's quite a new paradigm, and I'm having a few conversations where people are like, "Oh, it's Sim Ring," and it's like, no, it's not.
No.
In Europe, the Nordic carriers have done this before in their networks for Skype, so it's not super new to some people in Europe. But just to recap it for everybody on the webcast. It's your single number is a mobile or cell number, and I want to talk to you guys in a moment about why it's Teams Phone Mobile, but you guys still use cell. You've got to drop cell and use mobile like everybody else now. The single number is your Teams number and your mobile number. So if you make a Teams on the native iPhone or Android dialer, not in the Teams app, native, that is also a Teams call. It flips your presence. It's using your Teams voicemail, and even if you've got compliance recording, which is a huge deal for a certain part of the world, you will now compliance call record those mobile calls, native mobile, inbound, outbound, through your Teams compliance recording, which was really tricky previous to this kind of technology.
Yeah, and I don't think that they're getting it.
Yeah, I paused the video here because it shows this. Here's the dialer in the person's hand, and you can see in the background they're getting a Teams phone call on their desktop, and so the user is answering it using the regular phone app. They don't even need the Teams app installed on their mobile device. They can receive the call, and it'll update their status in Teams as on a call, and then, as Tom said, the call recording.
And it's not two numbers. It is that in the UK it's 07 for mobiles. That 07 number is your Teams number. So if your mobile's completely turned off, your Teams will still ring. If your Teams is completely turned off, your mobile will still ring. It is the single number. SMS is all on the native mobile at the moment, so there's no SMS integration yet. Watch this space for that. But as far as calls and voicemail go, they're all completely native. And for things like the scenario I see this playing out in is there's a lot of, especially if you go to SME, mid-market, SMB, they're mobile first, like their phone number they use is the mobile, so they're gaining Teams. But there's also the other potential way around where you're already a Teams customer and you just want to have one number across both devices.
Yeah. It's really, to me, it's a huge jump, and I don't think that people are grasping how big of a jump it is. But
no. The thing that's going to be slow now is that, and it's worth understanding for everybody, is it's on a per operator per country basis. Yeah. So BT are doing UK and Rogers are doing Canada. If you're a multinational and you do different mobile contracts in different countries, or you try and consolidate them over multi-country, you can't have a BT international contract. So, I use EE, I'm a BT, EE is their mobile brand customer. But if I wanted to have French employees on the same contract, it wouldn't quite work because France doesn't have, I can get a France cell number from them, but I can't get a Teams phone mobile cell number. That will come obviously as demand increases and operators work together. It will definitely come. But yeah, pretty revolutionary tech, certainly for our space.
And I'm going to throw out another topic that was at Ignite that I think is just as big as Microsoft Places. I think
what is that?
So
yeah, talk me through it as well, Jimmy. So I've read the blog, but
it's something new. I mean, it's the idea that you've got people, and then you've got spaces, and the spaces that people are at are the places. So spaces include your home office, your actual office, maybe your desk. There's all these different things that Microsoft is doing to enable these spaces to come into Teams. Take your mobile phone. Take the idea that you've got hot desking. Take the idea that you have Microsoft Teams rooms. Now, if I have all of these things, how am I, as an administrator, looking at this ecosystem of everything around it? How am I managing this platform? Like you said, Tom, I'm getting a single phone call and it works across a multitude of things. So it really is the next incarnation of workplace analytics, technology, making sure that when people go from their home to their office, they don't lose capabilities, making sure that all of that is there. Places is a huge concept. And business technology is big. You can see even in the video, the woman that was actually showed up to the office, but was told, "Oh, I should be at home." One of the things that I know that I've seen from many companies is they have this: "Are you coming to the office 2 days a week?" Well, you have to sign in and you have to do this, and it's an optional thing. And many employees aren't doing it because they've got the fear: "Oh, somebody's tracking me. Somebody's doing this." But what if I have the ability to know with a mobile phone and I don't make it like something that has to be manually done? What if when I walk in with my mobile phone, it all of a sudden alerts me and says, "You don't have a desk today."
Yeah,
or your meetings are all remote.
I've always felt like we've missed out on that mobile phone opportunity. Like, I don't understand why, exactly to your point, the presence awareness of like, why do I have to set my presence to in the office, right? You've got a cell phone with a GPS, you know where the office is, but also when I'm in the car, like put my presence as in the car, don't call me, and you can see some of the OS, the mobile OSs do that natively, but if we can get that in our work platforms, that's really exciting to me.
But we've already done that little leap forward with Teams rooms, where it knows that you're inside of the room and it automatically mutes your spike and speakers and things like that. This is the next incarnation. I saw that Jason actually put in a thing, because I think when you wrap your head around what Microsoft has done with Teams rooms, with hot desking, with all of these things, you see that yes, something has to connect all of this together. And what is it?
This feels like your first briefing, Jimmy. This feels like your topic, mate.
But I get it. I'm excited to talk about it. Now, I think that they introduced this, and I think that it's important for all of us to understand. And Tom, you've been around this for a long time. I think that there's probably a lot of other people that have been around for a long time, but everybody's got to understand. Microsoft introduced Mesh last year at Ignite. Again, Ignite is the Super Bowl. Mesh is just starting to come into practice right now. So when we look at places, I think it's such a large composition of things that it has to encompass that it's going to be something that we're going to talk about, but you might not see this right away. But so
it's interesting if you put those two concepts side by side. For me, I'd say places has the potential to have the bigger impact to more people than
Correct.
Mesh. Mesh is
I'm
cool
talking
and exciting.
in relationship to a time frame. I don't think you're going to see places tomorrow and things like that. I think it's like Mesh, where we introduce it, we show it, and we talk about it, and then you're going to see it sort of come to fruition in the time frame of probably the next fiscal year kind of deal.
So there's a lot in that video. So for devices, which at least Jimmy and I and Tom to an extent are involved in. So at one point they said like environmental. So is that finally leveraging? Like I know Neat has CO2 sensors.
Yeah, they've got all sorts of sensors
and things built in. Is that where it's coming from? So I don't know for other vendors if they've already built in environmental sensors like Neat has. Are we finally going to leverage those?
Yeah, there are lots of vendors that do that, obviously outside of the room equipment as well. Right. So I'm guessing Microsoft might have API integration to the room building management systems, because that's the majority of that data at the moment.
And then knowing how many people are there, let's say in times of emergency or times of you need to have a plan of something and everything else, that's a huge part of places as well. So I do imagine, like you said,
I guess evac scenarios and people counting for buildings, that's super important. Interesting.
Correct. And wayfinding, there's a video in there of wayfinding. How many people have used that term wayfinding? I have.
On panels, we've been talking wayfinding for 2 years. And it's still not there. Apparently it's a complex computer science problem. Complex computer science problem. That Bing Maps for internals just isn't there yet. The other thing I saw in that video is they just walked into the conference room, was booked. So I know some panels, I don't know if all of them do. I don't know if it's a requirement, but some have NFC sensors.
Yes.
So is that like you kind of walk by and like if your Teams app is up, or it's kind of creepy if I just randomly walk into a room. But if my Teams app is up and like there's an NFC thing and you walk in, it's like, oh, you just walk into the room, booked. And if you leave, unbooked, which would be cute.
I would love
there's got to be some kind of personal privacy involved there.
For me, track me all day to make my life easier. Like I'm down.
Take away all these nonsense things that I have to do manually. I mean, Michael, you know this. Paperwork is my enemy.
Oh God.
But I'm with you, Tom. Take it. I find people like, well, I don't want to register my voice, but yet they have an Amazon device or a Google device at home. I don't want the company to track me. But to your point, Apple and Android are tracking you everywhere you go with your mobile device, and yet you carry that. So there's these things that people sort of pick and choose. I don't want to do this, but yet they break the same rule that they're picking and choosing on. So. It's a trade-off. You trade things off for ease of lifestyle.
Sure. So have we got time to get into Teams Premium?
I haven't looked into this a lot.
Just no. Yes, let's talk it. Let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah, I think I'd love, Tom. I'd love a tutorial on it, because I haven't attended the sessions yet to sort of see everything. I'm very far behind at Ignite, by the way. I have a lot of sessions to look.
Yeah. So Teams Premium is not roomed. It's regular Teams. So Microsoft are releasing a new SKU that is an add-on SKU above Teams, what you would get in E3 or E5, that adds extra new features. So essentially, Microsoft are monetizing the higher end features. So it's things like watermarking content. So you'll be able to watermark your video feed and or your sharing, so that if people take screenshots, it will literally have, you know, the UPN over the screen. It's some advanced webinar features. It's end-to-end encryption in personal one-to-one peer-to-peer calls. And it's also, which is the one that stands out for me as not really a great fit for this, is the live translation for captions. So doing real-time live translation for captions as well. And obviously there's, you know, whenever Microsoft add a SKU or add cost, there's always a reaction. For me personally, like, don't work for Microsoft. Like, I think it's Microsoft's product. They have, you know, an option to try and monetize it. There's a lot of value in there. I would say the live captions is the one thing that stands out for me that I think a lot of people could gain value from, that adding as an extra SKU I'm a little bit unsure about. I don't often see Microsoft monetize accessibility, so I think that's interesting. But watermarks, security, webinars, I can see why you'd want to charge extra for those high-end features.
Yeah, and
there's
like
also,
I said, I haven't
there's also the intelligent assistant thing, which Microsoft's been talking about for a long time. Basically listening in and then putting together.
Yes, that's a really big one.
All that stuff.
That was a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like the meeting summary type stuff as well, where it'll give you a nice summary of the meeting.
I like that because I have used transcription to follow up on meetings. One of the things that I do is I download the transcript, Control F, and see if my name was mentioned. Because you've got meeting after meeting after meeting, it becomes a little bit challenging to do stuff. So having that assistant automatically do that for me.
It's like, where's Jimmy? He was supposed to be on this call.
Correct. You know, I don't have Teams open right now because like I said, I'm having computer issues. But I'm sure that there's, Jimmy, you should talk about this. Jimmy, you should talk about that, and those kind of things in there. So.
Yeah, another thing in premium, which isn't a big deal for me, but maybe for other organizations, it showed up in the video, is what they call the meeting guides. So the thought is not every meeting is the same. So sometimes you have a meeting that's going to be with external customers. Sometimes you'll have meetings internal to your team or internal to your company. So those are all 3 different audiences. So in order to get the security right, like today, if I want to create a meeting internal to Microsoft that, you know, nobody can get into, I've got to go and monkey around with all the security settings.
Yeah.
Or if I want it to be a, hey, anybody can join, I may have to monkey with those security settings. Now, there it is. IT can set what the security settings are going to be for a client call, a brainstorm, or a help desk. Push those
like templates for the lobby, templates about recording control, templates about his chat on or off, those kind of things. I think that's smart because no real user is playing with any of those settings, right? They're just doing whatever the defaults are.
You see it all the time, and it's not intentional. Even if, like Tom, I'm not calling you out that this has happened to you, but you start a kind of a public meeting, and everybody has to wait in lobby, and like, oh, come on, now we constantly get these bings throughout our presentation or our workshop. So it's like, man, I should have said clear lobby, or all these idiots are coming in. What happened to my lobby? Yeah. And you have to then, even though you know what you're doing, it's like, oh man, I forgot about the lobby settings or other settings.
So pro tip there, you can change those mid-meeting as well, because like you didn't used to be able to, but mid-meeting you can turn lobby on and off, things like that. So if you do forget, you can flip them. But you're right.
You don't have thousands of people coming in, and that little pop-up.
you can't even get to the UI. Well, you guys have a bigger problem than I do. You got bigger meetings, bigger fans.
And David, I'm laughing because I actually do, use that Control F to see exactly in the thing. But David agrees with me. He uses the transcript the same way. So. But yeah, it's I love being able to set those templates because so many people don't do that, and you do join some of these meetings, and it's challenging sometimes because you're the tech guy that came into the room, and the people that aren't tech look at you and go, well, how do I change this? So
the thing I want to see from Microsoft now, and it's not I've spoken to people, is you've got a premium end SKU that's cool, that's your choice. Now as features come out, you need to be super clear as early as possible what's lining up for premium, what's lining up for standard, because it's going to be bad to get people excited about the next big thing, and then at the last minute it's like, oh, you played with it in preview for 12 months, we've been talking about it at 2 Ignites, and now it's extra. If you come out from day one saying this is part of premium, that I think that's super cool and fair. But comms has to be really good around this.
And there's this that's similar with Teams Rooms, basic and pro, where most things will go pro. It's just kind of in your mind, you assume it's pro, but there are going to be some things that are going to slip into basic just because it's so core to the system. They're like, just throw the basic people this one too. So
I think we made the licensing on Rooms easier by doing that.
Rooms is definitely easier than premium on Teams because every big customer is going to go pro on Rooms. There's basically no decision unless you're tiny.
Right.
Premium's very different. Like you could see just the marketing team getting premium for the webinar features, or just the execs getting it for the watermarking. So there'll be I don't think many customers are happy to be proved wrong. I don't think many customers are going to go premium across the board. I think there'll be there are spot use cases for it, and that makes IT's life a little bit harder because does this person get it or not? Who has that license? So just a little bit more to think through there.
License assignment based off dynamic groups in Azure AD. Done. Just set that up. If you're in this group and HR, enrollment system in HR,
not so much giving them the license. What do they get, Michael? What do they get is the question.
So it can be done.
Yeah.
Let's see, anything else? And we're kind of at the hour, so I think
we touched all the big Ignite stuff. There was a load. I mean, that's not fair actually. There's loads of little things around chat and collab, and we focus most on the UC roomy stuff because that's exciting. But there's loads of. It's worth checking out the blogs. There's lots on the collaboration front as well that got announced.
There really is. I mean, I said it during selling Teams Rooms. You got to go through the book of news. Tom, it's funny because as an MVP, I always use the book of news for whatever event we would get and everything else. And I would look at that because many times as an MVP, you would get that beforehand. And I would utilize that to actually go through. But there's a lot of people inside of Microsoft that don't even know about the book of news and reference it. They go and they learn things in different ways. But I think the book of news is one way to actually just go through it. I mean, even if you don't read every little article about Azure Cloud or something like that, at least familiarize yourself with it.
I'm going to drop it. I haven't quite finished yet, but I'm going to drop it on Monday. But I'm trying to get everything that mattered, kind of what we just talked about in an hour, down to a 15-minute video because which is tougher than it sounds, right? To get all that stuff in.
Cloud, it's impossible. You know how many people said you'll never get 10 minutes for my thing this morning with Mary?
No, 15 minutes or less is the sweet spot we're finding. Less is better, right? People have short attention spans, but 15 minutes, and because we've got the bot and we can ping people, we're hoping that 15 minutes is palatable. So we'll see.
Yeah, and Joel, Book of News is a public document. It's not just Microsoft; it's a public document. So if anybody has it,
it goes to internal and media a little bit earlier in MVPs, and then it goes out to the rest of the world.
Thank you for calling it the Book of Jimmy, because I was the one that actually socialized everything at Crestron for these things. But this is the Book of News, and if you go to the upper right, Michael, for the table of contents, you'll see everything there. You're not going to see Teams because it's actually under the 365 side.
And you can Control F through it if you want to jump for your favorite tech. It's the whole of Ignite, so it's massive.
Correct. But it basically summarizes everything, and you get it in a nice, even if you just scroll through the table of contents, you'll see everything that's there.
Don't sleep on the download visual assets for people who make PowerPoints.
Yes.
A lot of these pictures and animated GIFs are free to download. You don't have to right click on blog posts at Microsoft and hope you can download it. It's here. So Book of News is a good one.
Yeah, if you're doing blog posts, if you're doing things like that, and you're out there promoting the Microsoft messaging, or even if you're doing it, Joel, you said doing it inside of your previous company. If you're getting messaging to your company, to your teams that need to learn about these things, make sure, to Michael's point, you're downloading the assets out of the Book of News. And
I don't know why Microsoft can get a better picture from audio codes, but people have been waiting for these ATAs, analog telephony.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I had a lot of chats about Ignite about that. Actually, we did an Ask Us Anything session at the end of the day, and like 30% of the questions were around analog and ATA. Like that's a really big jump.
This has been a question that comes up anytime you talk SIP gateway. When are they going to support fax machines? I don't know if you can run fax machines, but paging systems, elevator phones. things like that. Coming soon, or is it live now? Beginning of
Coming
2023.
Yeah, it's in tap at the moment, so it's real, but coming
and these
soon.
seem to be all the ATAs that I ever run across. I'm not Mr. Telephony guy, but these are all the main. They got the top 40 hits here.
Yeah, it's those audio code MP ones. They're everywhere. Like I've done loads of those.
I wrote an entire book using this thing. Actually, I think it was the 114.
Do you guys remember they were the ones they used to bundle in the very first, like when they were seeding voice. Was it OCS or was it Link? Like they would bundle those in as part of their like training kit as well.
No, but it's really solid. You can do really cool things that people didn't know. And I'm not trying to advertise audio codes. I'm sure Cisco and Pauly can do it as well. But I would hear in my Skype Enterprise Voice days, we just want an analog phone. You pick it up and automatically dial someone. Use an ATA. Take that phone, plug it in, and when the audio code sees an off hook, it can take an action, like placing a phone call. So that's how you worked around that in the Skype days, and probably
one of the scariest things I did with those. We did a fire station, and we were ringing the emergency bells off them because when the phone rang, that sent a live to the bell. So they were literally running the fire station bells to make them jump in the trucks.
Wow.
Yep. All right. Well, I think let's wrap up. We're at an hour. I'm doing Oktoberfest here in the Tampa Bay area. Oktoberfest I'll be volunteering 10 hours, 5 hours each day. So on Sunday is a deserved day to sit in front of the couch and watch football with my legs completely tired from standing and walking. So that's my exciting weekend. Tom, anything good coming up?
So I'm actually at a show right now. So it's South Coast Summit. So I'm here today for a pre-day. We're having a few beers tonight, and then tomorrow's the actual show. So it's a full M365 show, but I'm doing classically Teams AMA. Laurie's over here, who's awesome. So we're going to do a bit of an Ask Us Anything at the end of the day.
Awesome. Those community events are some of the funnest things. I don't get to go out to them as much as I'd like to, but they're always awesome.
Jersey Jimmy, what do you got? We got Jimmy 2 times.
This weekend I'm building a house. I got to go learn about elevators and fireplaces and electrical codes.
Wait, hold on. You're putting an elevator in your house?
I am putting an elevator.
Not a dumbwaiter, an actual elevator.
Correct. I am putting in an elevator. It's very common because the houses are not
massive.
Wide.
Is what you're trying to say?
Not massive. They're not wide.
because we live in mansions.
Because they're not wide, you have to build up. And as I'm getting older and fatter, let's be real, Jimmy's not going to be mobile.
Elevator's not going to help with that, Jimmy. Those stairs are doing you a favor, mate.
Jimmy is not going to be mobile for the rest of his life. So
that's cool. I'm expecting full Crestron home automation through top to bottom, right?
Believe it or not, yeah, I'm really not doing much to it because I have friends that are at Crestron, obviously, and we are looking at wiring some things, but I'm not doing anything crazy because number one, cost. I mean, I just don't have the funds that I used to have with everybody in this this great time of uncertainty, especially you guys in the UK, Tom. I don't know. It's a little insane right now.
I charge all my work in dollars. That's turning out to be very good.
I know. So I look at cost and I look at actual. All right, I can get up and turn on a light switch and do those sort of things now. But the elevator is not something that you can do afterwards.
Correct.
It's very weird the way that it works and everything else. And having 5 stories, it's
5, yeah.
Oh, that's fair. I'll give you that.
5 stories. It's like I would never see the tops 2. Like never. Like I don't even know what happens up there. It's its own world. There's ecosystem. The animals are running.
That's the problem. That's the problem. And as people become, people in my age bracket and everything else become less and less mobile, you do have to think about these things. Accessibility, like you said, Tom. Accessibility is a huge thing, and just not being able to have people at my house because they can't get to this topic. Again, the first story is completely unlivable because it's down by the beach and everything. So when you look at that, you've got to be able to get people to the next story. And it was important to me to sort of include that inside the house.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks, Tom, for joining.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Happy to come back anytime. Love these chats.
Yeah,
thanks, Tom. I do too.
Visit empowering.cloud. That's Tom's site. I got a video out there. Jimmy, you'll get on there at some point.
I'm asking Jimmy. He's going to get there.
Yep. If you're not familiar with it, great resource. And I'm about to play the going by video. So goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers, everybody.